Does that happen? Let me tell you how this ends. It ends with the destruction of Israel. It ends with the end of the Western way of life. It is the keystone of the West. You do this, it inflames the Middle East, and I got news for you. Bill Kristol, make fun of me all you want. A caliphate is established. It is why Osama bin Laden said, take advantage of the Arab Spring. Did you hear the tape they just released? The last one he made, apparently. He said almost the same thing our president did. And our president expects you to believe that peace will happen if Jews just give up more land. Really? Take out the hate, will you? Let's look at things logistically for a second. How do you move 300,000 people from the West Bank? How do you move them, Mr. President? And you really believe if you bring Palestinians in and give them all of the homes and even the stuff of all the Jews, they're going to say, you know what, neighbor across the border, we're not going to massacre you. Let's put things into perspective. This is a picture that was taken in the West Bank. See that one? Remember this? Know what that is? Cookies. They were celebrating the death of this family. The brutal death of the Fogel family that no one else wanted to talk about. People from the Palestinian section of the West Bank went in and brutally killed this family in the middle of the night. A little baby, a mom, brutally killed. The Palestinian Authority will rule this land. The same ones, the Palestinian Authority, that just signed an accord with Hamas and these guys.
يؤتى بهم لفيفا إلى فلسطين ليكون الشرف لفلسطين وأهل فلسطين ومن ورائهم أمة الإسلام في القضاء على الشر المستطير لهذه الشرذمة من البشر مهما كان في الخليقة من وحوش كاسرة، من طيور جارحة، من زواحف مؤذية، من حشرات ضارة، من ميكروبات فتاكة. خطرها أدنى بكثير من خطر.
Hezbollah, that's Hamas. Hezbollah is run by Iran. Remember, Iran says run the Jews into the sea and Israel has to be wiped off the map. They also say, quote, the Zionist regime is heading towards annihilation. Ahmadinejad says the Zionist regime is a rotten, dried tree that will once be eliminated by one storm. Or how about this super classic? By God's will, we will witness the destruction of this regime in the near future. Obama did say that Jerusalem will be dealt with separately, but he said going back to the 1967 borders. That assumes that East Jerusalem is now in the hands of the Palestinian Authority. Got it? That they'll take that and run with it. And when that happens, let me give you a list here of the holy sites that you will no longer be able to see again. If you go to Jerusalem, you won't be able to see the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. You won't be able to see the Western Wall, or the Mount of Olives, or the Garden of Gethsemane, or the Garden Tomb, or the Room of the Last Supper, or the Temple Mount. None of it. I told you 2 weeks ago that our faith is under attack. I told you that they would take our holy sites this week. This is not about Israel. This ends in the Middle East with chaos and death. How do I know? Well, recent history, that's how. I'll explain when we come back. We're talking about we're talking about Israel and what the president said today. Go back to the 1967 lines, which is insane. Let me ask you, if you reduce Israel, if you reduce anything in our country to an 8-mile strip, how do you defend that if everybody around you is screaming for your death? You can't. If we were dealing at a time where it was truly Arab Spring and we're like, hey, everybody's saying, let's just relax a little bit and get along, then you might want to wait just a few more minutes before throwing our only ally in the Middle East under a bus. But we don't have a stable situation in the Middle East. Israel is our friend. Why would you cut a deal that weakens the borders and security of Israel and say, you got to work with your neighbors when you have no idea what's going to end up here? No idea what's going to end up here. You know the Syrians, are they stable? Are they going to be in there in 6 months, 6 weeks? What is Syria going to look like? How about Saudi Arabia? How about Yemen? How about Qatar? How about Iran? How about Iraq? Afghanistan? You know what Pakistan's going to even look like? Why would we throw our only friend under the bus and say, hey, you got to get along with everybody? You don't know what those countries are going to look like in 6 months. Jeez. When is America and the world going to wake up? Let's look at it this way. Let's say you had an apartment, okay? And you decided that you were going to expand it. And you made a deal with the person that owned the condo right next to you. You made a deal. You had a piece of paper. And that deal gave you part of that neighbor's apartment. And you took that and you blew the wall down and you built a new wall, and so you had an extra room. Well, the people that are living in that apartment, not the owners, the ones who are living there, now they hate you because you took that room. And they've, terrorized your cat and your kids, and they've been nasty neighbors. And the little old lady that lives there, she keeps saying to her husband, kill them all. Now, the husband, who's kind of reasonable, except he's with the lady who's saying, kill your family, says, hey, can we share that room? I don't think so. I don't think so. Look, we're just going to take off your front door, and we're just going to share that. We're just going to share that room. That'll be cool. Is the spooky lady who's saying, kill me, is she coming? Because I don't feel comfortable. No, you know what? No, I don't think so. Because you won't shut the lady up that's saying, kill my family. Remember the Arab Spring, when everybody was fawning over these pictures in Tahrir Square, everybody in the press, oh, this is great. And I was saying, no, it's not. This is the same place where we now find out we're a week later screaming and chanting, kill the Jews, kill the Jews. But I don't have to go to a week later. In this crowd, on this night of February 11th, Lara Logan was changed forever. In case you forgot, here she is.
I'm screaming, thinking if I scream, if they know, they're going to stop. Someone's going to stop them, or they're going to stop themselves because this is wrong. And it was the opposite. The more I screamed, it turned them into a frenzy.
Someone in the crowd shouted that she was an Israeli, a Jew. Neither is true, but to the mob it was a match to gasoline. The savage assault turned into a murderous fury.
I want you to remember those words. The more I screamed, the more furious they became. It is coming. The dominoes are going to continue to fall, and Israel is the keystone of the West. And if you pull that keystone out, the West falls. That's why they're pushing so hard. Just like I said, Egypt was the keystone to the Middle East. Israel is the keystone to the West. But the president apparently doesn't get this. He thinks what's happening in the Middle East is a good thing. Here he is.
In the course of history, when the actions of ordinary citizens spark movements for change because they speak to a longing for freedom that has been building up for years. In America, think of the defiance of those patriots in Boston who refused to pay taxes to a king, or the dignity of Rosa Parks as she sat courageously in her seat. So it was in Tunisia, as that vendor's act of desperation tapped into the frustration felt throughout the country. Hundreds of protesters took to the streets.
Stop.
Then thousands.
Let me tell you something. First of all, Take 6, please. Remember this up here? I said radicals, Islamists, communists, socialists will work together against Israel, capitalism overturned. I said this in January. I've left it up so nobody forgets because everyone made fun of me. When I saw Tunisia, I told you that is the Archduke Ferdinand moment. It will set the Middle East on fire and then set the world on fire, and nobody will remember. This is the moment the president is referencing. He is holding up a guy that sets himself on fire as the next Thomas Jefferson or Rosa Parks. He's not backing off the Arab Spring. He's cheerleading it. Well, finally throwing in a token line about the Coptic Christian churches that are burning in Egypt by saying the Coptic Christians have to have the right to worship freely in Cairo. Oh, well, I hope one of them set themselves on fire to make the point. The way this fundamental transformation of the world is being played is awe-inspiring. Have no doubt about it, it is absolutely brilliant. They have united with every enemy of capitalism, of Israel, of America, of the Western way of life. But it is evil, and you should call it by its name. This August, in Jerusalem, I cannot believe I am saying this to you today. It truly may be the last time you can stand and worship and see the holy sites of Jerusalem. The United Nations comes together in September to either endorse or condemn Israel. This may be it for our generation or for all mankind. I don't know. Tomorrow on the radio, and in case you don't listen, go to glennbeck.com, but you need to know immediately, I am going to announce, and I didn't make the decision of where we've reserved so many sites. Last night at 1 a.m. Eastern Time, I made the decision because we had to be on the phone and give a decision to all of these places in Israel. 1 a.m., man, I prayed on this one hard because what I'm going to announce tomorrow, I thought it was going to be rough going yesterday. Now with what the president has done, let me tell you something. This is going to be a life-altering event. It will take profound courage to stand in Israel because I believe the very gates of hell have just been opened against them. But the very gates of heaven are about to open up the other way. Join me at glennbeck.com. Information tomorrow.